Gentleman from North Carolina.
Request a recorded vote.
A recorded vote is requested pursuant to Clause 6 of Rule 18. Further proceedings on the amendment offered by the gentleman from North Carolina will be postponed. Missouri. Purpose of the gentleman from Missouri rise.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have an amendment at desk number 47.
The clerk will designate the amendment.
Amendment number 47, printed in the Congressional Record, offered by Mr. Luetkemeyer of Missouri.
Pursuant to the order of the House of February 18, 2011, the gentleman from Missouri, Mr. Luetkemeyer, and a member opposed will each control 3 minutes. The gentleman from Missouri is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I rise in support of my amendment, which would eliminate funding for the Missouri River Authorized Purposes Study, also known as Mr. RAPS. This $25 million study was originally earmarked under the guise of a review of the 1944 Flood Control Act and relevant court rulings to determine if current authorized project purposes are contemporary. Mr. RAPS comes on the heels of another comprehensive $35 million 17-year study completed in 2004 that showed that the current authorized purposes are appropriate and do not need to be altered. For river communities, few issues are as important as water supply, power, and navigation. This study puts in jeopardy the flow of the lower Missouri and Mississippi rivers, which would have devastating consequences for navigation and transportation along those rivers and barriers to agriculture, waterways operations, and every product that depends on the Missouri and Mississippi River to get to market. Mr. Rapps is duplicative and wasteful in taxpayer dollars. We already spent $35 million to examine the Missouri River Master Manual. After 17 years, hundreds of public meetings, and countless lawsuits, the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers concluded that the current uses of the river are appropriate. It is careless and irresponsible to conduct another multi-year, multi-million-dollar study at taxpayer expenses, particularly in the dire state of our nation's economy. Mr. Chairman, with that, I yield 1 minute to the gentlelady from Missouri, Ms. Hartzler.
Gentlelady from Missouri is recognized for 1 minute.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I wholeheartedly support this amendment, which saves taxpayers from funding a duplicate study which is unnecessary, wasteful, and ill-advised. The Corps of Engineers just completed a 15-year study at a cost of $35 million. The Missouri River Master Water Control Manual has been published, and businesses, municipalities, and utilities have been planning accordingly. There is no need to restudy the issue of the Missouri River again at an additional cost of $25 million. Farmers, businesses, and cities in Missouri's 4th Congressional District support this amendment, and I urge my colleagues to support this common sense proposal. Mr. Chairman, I yield back my time.
Gentleman yields back his time.
I reserve the balance of my time.
Gentleman reserves his time. Gentleman from Arizona.
I rise in opposition to the amendment.
Gentleman from Arizona is recognized for 3 minutes in opposition. Gentleman's recognized.
To my colleague from Missouri, I would tell him that the objective of this amendment has pretty much been accomplished. We have the time. And that happens, the last funding that occurred for this study was in, I think, 2009, which was an earmark. So now that earmarks have been eliminated in the CR and eliminated for the future, you would not have that funding as a possibility for this study. Also, the administration has not put any money in its budget, so therefore there's no money in the budget. So for all practical purposes, the funding for this study is not going to continue. So therefore, it's very unlikely that the funding level provided in the bill will receive anything more than the amount to close the study. And I would tell my friend that the reason I oppose it is that this language, I think, may be unnecessary because it may impact the orderly termination of the study. And that's why I rise in opposition, because I believe since this study, at least in my opinion, has been terminated, that we at least go through an orderly order with the funding that's available, so we can have an orderly termination. And I'll reserve the balance of my time.
The gentleman reserves his time. The gentleman from Missouri.
With all due respect to the to the gentleman